You've probably heard the cliche, university is the best time of your life. You get to live with your friends, you're partying a lot of the time, and you don't have any real financial obligations. Being at university is incredible. Having finished university in 2020 in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, I look back on the time I've spent at university as the best time of my life so far. But this is all in hindsight. In the moment, university was so stressful and so all-consuming that there were definitely moments that I felt it was the most stressed I'd ever been. So I would say that hindsight is 2020, but 2020 was pretty terrible, so maybe not quite that. But since leaving university and starting my career, there are a few things about life after university that I really wish somebody had taught me before I finished university. So here are a few things that I think are really useful to know before you finish the best years of your life. Now, the first thing I wish I'd been told is to like this video and subscribe to this channel, because that way you help me smash the YouTube algorithm. But seriously, the first thing I want to talk about is how much you will miss your friends. At university, you don't really understand the fact that for the rest of your life, your friends probably won't all be in one geographic location. University is such a bubble where everyone you know is within 5 or 10 minutes at an absolute maximum, and it makes it incredibly easy to do things. One of the best things about university is that at any time of day, at any night out, you can message a group of friends and know that at least one of them will probably be up for going to the pub or chilling at yours playing games together or going out on a proper night out. This is something that just isn't possible when you leave university. When your friends live further away, it takes a lot of planning to get people together. Trust me, it's impossible to find a time when more than 5 people have the same time free to just go out, meet up for a coffee, or go for a walk in a park. It's insane. The reason that this is the case is that people start getting real obligations. People start living with their partners. People start having to pay rent, people start working 5 days a week, and suddenly you find that those free time that you used to have, they're just gone. It seems to be that by the time you've made dinner and washed up in the evening, you have 4 minutes of free time before bed. It is ludicrous, and it's such a completely different space to when you're at university, when you can choose when you work, and if you don't feel like doing the work on a certain day, you can just cram it into the next day, or the next week, or the next month. So one piece of advice I would give to anyone still at university is to value meeting up with your friends and the fact that everyone's in such close proximity. On reflection, I wish I'd spent less time studying and more time developing my friendships and understanding what I wanted from a friendship, because now that I'm out of university, I find myself really missing my friends and being able to see each other regularly. Now obviously the pandemic has made this much worse, but this is still the case. People come out of university and they find that one of the most difficult things to adapt to is not having your friends around. The second thing, and I've already touched on this, but work is never ending. It is this constant impending thing that sits over you. When you finish a day of work, sure, people say, you can just switch off, it's fine. You don't have any homework like you have at university. But the next day you have work, and the day after that, and the day after that. And then you have a weekend, and then you have work again. And every time you finish a project at work, it's not like finishing a module or a project at university. You don't get a week's break or even a month's holiday like you do at Easter or summer for different universities. What you get is great, if you're lucky, and here's your next project. You kick off on that today. It's crazy the turnover of projects that you have in the real world. You will literally finish one project halfway through the day and be started on your next project in the same day. You won't have time to let your brain completely get over what you've just done or what you've finished signing off on. And so this is why doing things that you find interesting and finding other ways of earning income are so important. I'm a strong advocate for passive income and trying to create enough passive income to replace your work completely, because a 9-to-5 job is incredibly arduous. Now, there are a few ways around it. You can find a 9-to-5 job that you absolutely love. If you love what you're doing, it doesn't really feel like work, and you'll probably be able to do it for much longer periods of time than other people. But even if you love what you're doing, there's a limit to how much you can take in one go without needing a break. The next big thing, and this is a big problem in the UK, is salaries. A lot of the time as a graduate leaving university, you will be underpaid and overworked. If you're like me, and you've done a master's degree and you have 1 year of experience by the time you're leaving university, then 25 grand a year as the average salary for an automotive engineer with a master's degree leaving university really doesn't quite cut the mustard. By comparison, in the US, a master's degree in an engineering field will earn you an additional $15,000 to $30,000 a year. That's £10,000 to £25,000 per year. In the UK, if you do a master's, you get a pat on the back and you get applications to slightly harder jobs that still pay exactly the same. I think this is part of the reason why so many people become disheartened with engineering and pivot into roles in finance, where the pay seems slightly more rewarding for the amount of work that you've put in. Now, I'll do a full video breaking down why students are worse off now than they were 10 or 20 years ago, but one thing to highlight very quickly is, adjusting for inflation, students who graduate now are £10,000 per year worse off from a salary perspective as those who graduated in 2009. And that doesn't even take into account the fact that the rate of salary progression has slowed down, or the fact that student loans have increased over time. For example, my student loan now sits at £70,000, and I won't start paying that off until I'm earning above £80,000 per year, because the interest will always be greater than what I'm paying off. This means I'm unlikely to ever pay off even the initial sum of my loan, so my loan will only ever increase for the 30-year period that I have my student loan. And so as a result, this again circles back to loving what you do. Find something that you might love to do, and then the salary is a little bit less painful, especially if you've done a master's. Another thing that I wish I had explained to me was that you need to be brutally selfish in life. One thing that I found crucially important since graduating is how to stay motivated and focused and enjoy life. And one of the key things for that is just being selfish. It's managing my time so that I can do the things that I want to do. So whether I'm reading a book that I find interesting, or going out and playing a sport, even if it's just by myself kicking a rugby ball around in the park, or whether it's creating these videos, I need to find time to do the things that I enjoy, because nobody else is going to do them for me. And if I keep giving in to other people's needs, I'm never going to have time for myself. But this is something that doesn't really get mentioned at uni, is the fact that you need to find time for yourself. It's part of your own mental well-being, is looking out for yourself, and sometimes being able to say to others, I'm not quite in a position to take on any mental challenge or to do anything with you right now, I just need to focus on me. Remember, when all is said and done, your own opinion of yourself is the only one that matters. So focus as much of your energy as you feel you need to on accepting who you are and what you enjoy doing, and making sure you have time for those things. The next thing, and this is something I still struggle with, is realizing just how young I am. I do forget that I'm 23, almost 24, and sometimes I sit there feeling like my life is wasting away. Now, the reason you can be tricked into this is thinking, well, the average life expectancy is 80 years. At 25 years old, you're already more than a quarter of the way through your life. But the thing is, for the first 2 years, you were still crapping your pants. Probably for the first 3, you weren't able to talk or walk properly. And you're still developing well into your late 20s. So actually, when you're 23 years old, you're 1, maybe 2 years into the adult world at maximum. An 18-year-old is not an adult. I would have found it difficult to accept that when I was 18, when I thought I was an adult and I was Barry Big Bollocks. But the truth is, at 18 years old, you're still a child, you know nothing. At 23, I'm still a child, I know nothing. So reminding yourself that life is such a long time makes it much easier to not feel rushed and to not put yourself under constant pressure to achieve. This is something that I felt. I set myself a goal of reaching 500 subscribers on this channel within a year. Now, looking at my current rate of growth, I'm not going to reach that target. But I've got a long time, and so long as I'm willing to keep plugging away at this channel, I don't need to rush success. In fact, I don't need success at all. I just need to provide value. And that's something that I think is really important, is make sure that you set long-term goals as well as short-term goals, so you can remind yourself that you are so young and that you have a long way to go. The next thing, and this is something I really wish had been said to me, is don't rush into a career. Now, obviously, with a global pandemic, that's a little bit more difficult. I couldn't go travelling because the world was kind of locked down. But I still think that the point stands that you shouldn't rush into a career. Now, I'm not saying don't get a job. I'm not saying go live at home and completely ignore all financial responsibility. But I'm saying you should take time after university or before university if you have the chance to figure out what it is you really want from life. At the end of the day, you've spent 18 years of your life in formal education where you are most likely shaped towards a certain career path that is likely going to be a 9-to-5 job because that's what most people do. But you don't really have the opportunity to explore what it is you want to do outside of that. And so one thing I think is crucial is taking the time to find out what other things you might enjoy in life. I've got friends who studied engineering for 4 years, came out of university and went out travelling the world and found passion for cookery and have come back and have said, do you know what, the engineering degree is really useful, I can fall back on it if everything else fails, but I want to be a chef. They have passion for something they never knew about, and this is something I think is crucially important, and it's something I look to do as soon as this coronavirus pandemic is over and we can travel the world more freely and do the things we enjoy. I want to take time completely away from the career that I've started to learn more about myself. The happiest people I know that are my age are the ones who did not go into a career after university. They're the ones who took time and either went and worked a ski season somewhere, or they went and worked in a bar or a pub for a short amount of time, 6 months, a year, 2 years, to try and work out what it was they wanted in life. Those people are much happier than the ones who flew straight into a job, sat down, and 2 years later are hating their jobs, having real financial obligations. Some of them have mortgages, some of them have rent payments they have to make, some of them can no longer move back in with their parents because they feel that that's not acceptable. Those are the people who hate their lives because you become trapped in your own narrative. So I would strongly advocate people to take time after university, to not get a career, get a job if you need one to support yourself, but find what you really enjoy in life, because you may find that formal education has completely failed you and there's something out there you never thought of that you actually enjoy. And the final thing I'd wish I'd been told before leaving university is that everybody gets lonely. Mental health is so important, and it's becoming more and more spoken about amongst young people especially, but it's something that I think is crucially important. Having lived by myself after finishing university in a brand new flat for 3 or 4 months during a worldwide pandemic, I got very lonely. I'm perfectly happy to admit that. People play out this persona, especially on social media, that they show the best parts of their lives. But the truth is, everyone has times when they're feeling down. Everyone gets sad after leaving university because they miss their parents or they miss their friends. It's completely natural. I can tell you now, without a shadow of a doubt, I've cried more times over missing my family or my friends since leaving university than I'd probably cried at any other point in my entire life. But that's part of life, and being open and honest about it and encouraging the conversation is one of the most crucial things. I formed some of my strongest friendships with some of my friends just after university by being open and honest and talking about our mental health. And it's something I wanted to encourage all of you to do. No matter whether you think your friends are happy, sad, just ask the question. Just see whether they're okay, whether they need to talk about anything. Be a shoulder to cry on. Be a wall to talk to. Just make sure that your friends are happy and alright, and make sure your family are happy and okay too. Because we often think that mental health stays within our friends, but really, it affects everyone around you. Your family could be having issues without you even knowing. So just talk to them. Be the person to stand up. And if you feel like you do need someone to talk to and you don't have anyone, I'll leave some links in the description to some mental health awareness charities where they have phone lines you can call and you can have people you can talk to completely anonymously, just to make sure that you have someone out there to speak to. So life after uni, on the whole, is difficult. But difficult doesn't mean it can't be great. There are certain perks to life after university. For example, getting your free space, having an apartment that you can completely make your own. You no longer have the constraints of your parents. You can cook whatever you want. You can go to the gym whenever you want. You can quite literally do whatever you want. Nobody is going to stop you from going to the shops, buying a cake, sitting down on a Wednesday afternoon and eating an entire cake. It's not suggested, it's quite a lot of calories and a lot of sugar, but nobody's going to stop you. The universe has this weird thing of just letting people do what they want. So that's one of the wonderful things about life after uni. You can decide what you want your story to be. Now, I hope you learned something. If there is anything that you've learned after leaving university that I've missed, or any points you want to add at all, leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to get you guys' opinion. As always, thank you for watching. Hit the like button down below, subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll see you in the next video.